Well, hello friends and neighbors. Welcome to my kitchen table. John the Whiskey Neighbor here. It's Saturday. It's time to clean up. I've got a few empty bottles to talk to you about. I think I'm going to go through about 16 whiskeys. I'll try to keep it to 15 minutes. It's really just my final thoughts now that these bottles are at their journey's end. Stay with me. 3, 4. Thanks for staying with me through the break. As I said in the opener, there's about 16 bottles here, and I'm just going to share with you my final thoughts now that I've spent some time with the bottle. The bottle is at its journey's end. I'm going to try to rebrand this concept to a journey's end. It's not a full review though. If you want to see a full review of these bottles, you got to tune back into some of my past episodes where I spend more time talking about each. I got Scotch, bourbon American whiskey, and a couple of Canadians. So let's get right into the Scotch. Start with a nice gift. This was given to me by my wife. This is Cragganmore, but it's the Distiller's Edition. So it's generally a pretty light Speyside. You know, it's only 40%, but it's been matured again in export, I believe, export casks. So this grew on me. I have to say I liked it right up front. Oh, nice light Speyside with a little extra interesting going on in there. But the more I had time with this, even though it's released at just 40%, I found this to be a very nice, even a little bit of oak came out of there. I enjoyed this, and I would look forward to having it again if I could. Move on over to Glenfiddich 15. This is their Solera Reserve, I think, or Solera Release. I don't know how they say that. Solera Reserve, so it's got a bit of that concept of never entering the vat, always dumping in new 15-year-old caskings and drawing it out, so slowly it gets older with time. Another 40% release, but I must say, another surprise delight for me. I've had it before, it never stood out, but this time through, I really enjoyed the strong fruit notes. So even more than like your typical Speyside kind of cut out apple, that kind of thing, but this added a little more of a juicier fruit to it. And even though it was 40%, I'll buy this again. This is, I got a lot of good hitters going on here. So this is the Aaron Malt, the Amarone cask. So this is a Italian wine, I believe. And actually true to the tasting notes, this stayed, I found some dark chocolate in there, and interesting, they say Turkish Delight. I found it pretty sweet, had a wild natural color. Now this is bottled at 50%, natural color, not chill filtered, and I like this. I have to say the alcohol was present, but it never overwhelmed me, and I liked this bottle. It was tasty, a little different, had some backbone. Enjoyed it. This one, start to the journey's end, never changed, and I would buy it again. Wow. Oh my goodness, I got more buys it again. Giving this away. Like, this is Johnny Walker Green Label, and if you're a longtime viewer of the channel, you know that I recently did a blind of little tasters of Johnny Walker and blew myself away with what I picked. Like, shocked. It wasn't the strongest nose, it wasn't the strongest flavor, but overall I'm like, I think I'd like to relax with this one the best. You'll have to watch that to see what it was. This was not in the mix. Johnny Walker Green Label, if you just stopped and asked me in the street, what's your favorite Johnny Walker? This would be it. I really like the malt notes in this one. I really, all the way through, it's still on the shelves for a great value up here in Canada, in Alberta. And if you haven't had Green Label before, even if you don't agree with my other picks, I believe you owe it to yourself to give it a try. I think it might surprise you. It's a really good malt, blended malt. So I'd buy it again. Okay, let's get into a string of 12-year-olds. So, Glen Farklas, 12-year-old bottle, I believe, at 43%. Yep, 43. I also believe, is this one natural color and non-chill filtered? Oh, I should know this. I feel like it's natural colored, but it might be chill filtered. I like Glen Farklas. I like their house style. Sometimes it can drift into cough syrup territory, but strong sherry. Counts as a sherry bomb. Good bottle, great value. I would say, oh, I'd buy it again, but oh, I don't have the other 12 here that I recently was able to source. So let's leave a couple of 12s up here and talk a little bit about some 12s, because here's Glengoyne 12. Now, oh, this is exclusively sherry, but lots of refill I feel in this one. Glengoyne 12. This is also 43%, and this is, I think, is it? No, I don't know. There's some ex-bourbon and some sherry cask, but for some reason, I really like the balance of the little more caramel coming from the bourbon, but then add some of those dark leather fruit notes from the sherry. In the end, I used to reach for Glen Farklas all the time, and it still has a pretty unique kind of a burnt taste for me sometimes, and I like it. But putting these head to head, I picked the Glengoyne 12. Then I was reviewing, I was clearly on a sherry run. And so then I found this Aberlour 12, which is double cask. So now there's some ex-bourbon and some sherry. I feel like their 10-year-old used to be just ex-sherry, but this definitely has some ex-bourbon. It's only 40%. Also carries a 12-year-old age stamp. And really all three of these are priced very similarly. And all of them are good. I really believe all of them are tasty and give you some of that nice the fruit character from ex-sherry. And it'd be tough not to buy all of them again, but I'll tell you, putting them head to head, if I see them the same price, my picks would be, I'd get Glengoyne first, and then Glen Farklas, and this Aberlour 12, I probably won't. So we'll say not buy again, and we will say buy again for the Glengoyne 12. I really liked it, and we'll say buy again for Glen Farklas 12. I just have a soft spot for Glen Farklas. I know they have a huge distillery, but they're still family owned, and I don't know. I kind of like them. Oh, one more. Bunnahabhain 12-year-old. Bunnahabhain 12-year-old released 46.3%, so a little stronger than the last few. And again, I've had Bunnahabhain before, but I haven't had it reviewed on the channel, so I took my time through this one, and this is a delicious scotch. It offers just a wisp of smoke, a rich dark red fruit, whatever that is for you, like even on that edge of plum and some fig. And man, I really loved this time through. I've had it before, I've always liked it, but this time through, I really enjoyed this bottle, like all the way to the end. This journey is a must replace. Okay, that's my scotch. We're gonna head off into American land. No, we'll do one quick international. This is a quick international. Quite a while ago, I got this bottle of Rampure Select, bottle at 43, because I think in 2017, Whiskey Advocate said this bottle is like second in the world or something like that. Maybe it was just in the top 5. I can't remember, but it was a really strong recommend. I really appreciate the people who work at Whiskey Advocate. I love reading it. And they said it's a must buy, so I bought it. And at first, really impressed me. And then it became just the most tropical, fruit forward whiskey I've really ever had. Midway, it fell into its fruit. I wish I could remember the fruit that my good friend gave to my family. It was a tropical pull-apart fruit. I'm not going to get it. But the middle of this bottle, I did not enjoy. I have to say, it was either the bottle, changed with time. I think it was probably more my palate. I fell out of love with the amazing fruit levels. Thankfully, I'd say the last inch, because I left it. Now, whether it changed in the bottle, or I can't say. But I left it for a long time. When I came back to it, it seemed to have remembered a little bit of its oaking. Just a little bit of that wood gave me a little more of that spicing and not char, but a little inherent oak quality that was totally gone in the middle. It's practically alcoholic fruit punch. It wasn't, but it felt that way. And it came back. So this bottle was a journey. Really interesting, a real slog. The last inch was pretty good. Will I buy it again? No, I won't. All right, now we're into some American bourbons and whiskeys. We'll go actually with a single malt. Wait, is it single malt? Stranahan's, right? I believe this one's single malt. 47% alcohol. Pretty young, I think 4 to 5 years. All malt, all barley, I believe. No, it doesn't say on there. Why don't I know that with Stranahan's? But you know, aged in that new charred American oak, which just creates a fundamentally different experience than a young single malt from Scotland. So it ends up being oaky and yet cereal malty. I got this on a great deal. Very thankful I had it, and I liked it. But I will say I've had samples, and I'm looking forward to a good deal sale on some of their other expressions, because I'd like to see how this malt oaky is handled in some ex-sherry or something like that. I know they have a release like that. So it was good. It was good. And I'm glad I bought it. I'm not going to buy it again, though. Okay. Classic bourbon for me. This is a 50%er, Knob Creek. Very affordable in my neck of the woods. What to say about it? I can't even remember my journey with this bottle. Sounds like I took to it one night. That's not it. It's that I don't remember it evolving. Pretty much you pour it, you stick through it, it tastes good at the end. Little dark cherry in there, nice sweetness, caramels, toffees, good oak. It was good all the way through. And I'm sure I'll buy another Knob Creek. It just didn't change. It was Knob Creek from beginning to end. Even the neck pour tasted just like I wanted it to. Well, let's talk about two heavy hitters at the same time. Here's a 1920 and here's a rare breed. So, Old Forester 1920, I think it was last year, kind of came up, and a number of viewers said it's got to be your bourbon of the year. And it was the second. I found Old Ezra 7, to me, beat it out. This 1920, 57.5% Prohibition style from Old Forester. This is a really good bourbon. And I will say it got richer the longer, more often I went back to it. It still smells really good. This is a really good bourbon. Like, if you haven't had 1920 Old Forester yet, I suggest you owe it to yourself, your bourbon drinker, to figure out how to get a bottle. It is good. Really good. Before I tell you whether I'm going to buy it again, oh look, here's a bottle of rare breed. This is 58.4%. 58.4%. Oh yeah, it's right on the top. It's the 160.8 release. And it's got a little sourness to it that I now am appreciating more than I did in the past. So it's almost a little sweeter, a little more sour, a little spice. It just isn't as deep, I would say, as the 1920. But it was so good, so tasty. And in my neck of the woods, this I can get for half the price of this 1920. Half. So, will I get another 1920? Even though I just gave it super props and high recommendation, I know myself that I probably won't buy it again. I'll probably wait for some friend of mine to send me a sample so I can remember how good it is. Will I buy another bottle of rare breed? Yeah, I will. It's great and it's priced right. I think it's like 6 and 8 year olds mixed in here, and man, this bottle, I hope they don't screw it up, because it just tastes great and I can afford it. All right, last American is actually a rye. This is Sonoma County, Sonoma Rye, just Sonoma Rye. It's the cask strength though. It's a 54.4%. And I have to say, I was intrigued at the beginning, and you know that I like grassy ryes if you're a long-term viewer. Whew. It's got a little picture of the rye grass on the back. Halfway through, until the end, I fell out of love with this bottle. It just became citrus and grass. And I like those notes. I know many people don't, fair enough. I do. The way I finished this bottle was to splash it into some other ryes that might be just too candy sweet or too close to bourbon. And it didn't take much, just a splash. And oh yeah, then it gave me a little bit of that bite, a little bit of that lemongrass, that kind of thing that I'm looking for in rye. And I like using it that way. But as a bottle went, it was far too one or two dimensions. And so I'm not going to buy it again. All right, a few Canadians. This is from the Captain Series, the NHL Series, which, again, in general, have all gone on sale across the country and continue to be a phenomenal buy, right? When you see a bottle like this with an age stamp on it for $35, $40, that's insane. So, good stuff. I have to say, Cornwall, 12-year-old, even though I liked it up front, I did. And I liked it for a little while. The bottom half became what many viewers in Canada like good, sweet Canadian whiskey, but it lost some of the edge that it did have up front. It's got a little bit of virgin oak in there, so I could catch oak at the beginning. I lost it about halfway through. I don't know. So this particular Captain's release, I'm not going to buy it again. Okay. Gibson's Bold 8. It was sweet from the beginning, became a mixer in the middle, mixed well, did okay in some old fashions. It's got a bit of spice in it. So as a mixer, it's really nice. But I really am a neat sipper far more than a mixer. Not going to buy Gibson's again. Wow. Not Gibson's 8. Even though released at 46% and it has some good spicy qualities, I will say. I will say it was a good mixer. It's just not what I'm going to buy again. Last bottle up is this rye whiskey, Rocket R, 100% rye from Righand. Released at 40% just south here. I'll say this rye did a little better job than that Sonoma, balancing some really core, crisp rye notes with a little more caramelling or a little more, sweetness, maybe from the cask. I think it's ex-bourbon casked. It was still young, and it's priced way beyond its value. It's decent, but as a small distillery, they got to make their money back, I guess, and by doing that, they're charging a lot for this bottle. And because of that, I'm just not going to buy it again. Well, hopefully that gave you some insights into some of the Scotch, American, and Canadian whiskey I've been drinking in the last few months. Time to put them in a box and get them to the Recycle Depot. Speaking of Recycle Depot, if you stayed with me this long, you're probably a long-term viewer. You might go, what is this Journey's End? Why isn't this a recycled review? So I want to say, I had a chance to catch up with Roy and Aquavitae, and what a gentleman. What a fantastic supporter of whiskey and supporter of whiskey channels. And we talked a bit about recycled reviews, and he said unequivocally, John, you give me credit. There's no mystery where the idea is coming from. Please make as many of them as you want. Make it as long as you want, release as many as you want. So I certainly talked with him and made sure it would be okay if I did another recycled review. Having said that, I thought maybe I can come up with an idea that's, honestly, it's still his, like that impetus. I think he's the first guy that I really saw do the end of the bottle. I've seen other people do ends, final thoughts or other things, and I think it's a really nice idea. So I'll probably always link to Roy in these, but I thought, you know what, let's try to find my own naming so there's no confusion out there. Not that there would be. His channel is monstrous, and I'm just a small guy in Canada, but I just thought, I really don't need to brand or talk in exactly the same way. Like last time I think I saw his recycled review, I saw he had some shirt with some merchandise, recycled review, and I thought, oh, well, I mean, I'm not doing that at all. So I really thought, like, how can I create my own idea? Or at least part of my own idea, but absolutely built on Roy at Aquavitae. And if you haven't seen Roy's recycled reviews, you must see them. They are fantastic. A cut above, and he references links, and he creates an index, and he does a ton of work. They're really quality stuff. So please go visit Roy at Aquavite. Thanks for staying with me as we walk through some whiskey together. I hope it helped with your buying decisions. You guys have a great weekend.